Welcome. This is the Big Dom Productions and WJRG Sports Talk. My name's Henry Green, and I'm sitting in tonight for my brother Jerry. And I want to introduce everybody tonight. Start with in the studio with Mr. Donald Franklin. How you doing, Donald?
I'm doing great, man. Everything's good.
All
Everything's
right.
good.
And then we got Kendall Tyson. How you doing, Kendall?
I'm doing amazing, sir.
All right. And all the way in Maryland, Jerry's brother-in-law, Larry Pearson. How are you, Larry?
I'm doing great.
All right. And Connecticut's own Anthony McLean. Have I said your name right?
Good. All set. All good,
All
man.
right.
Mm-hmm.
How is everyone doing this evening?
Good.
Good. So I'm going to start it off with talking about UConn. And I want to start with the UConn men basketball team. They beat Seton Hall 81-50. Head coach Dan Hurley said he will view this season as a failure if the Huskies don't pull the three-peat off during this year's March Madness. Do you guys think it is possible? Larry, let me start with you. What are your thoughts?
Watching them over the weekend, they look pretty good, but he shouldn't be have nothing to say about that because him going on an interview for another job, that ruined the team's morale to start off with, For your coach to go and interview for another job,
yeah.
And he's supposed to be your coach, you know what I'm saying? I think that caused Connecticut to go on the slide they went on because everybody wasn't fully together. They probably say if he don't really care about us that much, he interviewing, and since things didn't go well there, he come back to us, So I think that was one of their biggest problems. But they got a talented team, and they might can pull it off.
That was a good point, Larry. I remember when that happened because he went to interview with the Lakers, but I didn't think about that. So, Anthony, what's your thoughts?
22-9, 14-6 in the conference. For a lot of teams, that's a pretty good season. But, coming off the two national championships, and let's be honest, they're a little spoiled down here in Connecticut, both the men and the women, in regard to the success. Let's put it this way. I think they've got a run in them. I don't know if they can win it. A lot of people are looking at them as possibly a 7th or an 8th seed. And I think it just speaks to the balance of college basketball this year, where they got 22 wins now. They got a possibility of maybe getting a couple more. St. John's has basically owned them this year, and they had a really terrible loss to Seton Hall, but they were able to come back from that this past weekend. I wouldn't say it would be a failure, but because considering the turnover on the roster and how balanced college basketball is overall nationally, even if they were to even get to say second round or Sweet 16, I would think this year would be considered a success if they were able to do that.
All right. So, Bishop, how are you? So I'm gonna relay the question to you. Then I go to the studio. The question of UConn head coach Dan Hurley said he will view this season as a failure if the Huskies don't pull the three-peat off during the March Madness this season. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on that. That's what we're talking about. Would you think it's he would say if they don't repeat the three-peat, if the season is a failure?
Dan Hurley really isn't talking about the team. Dan Hurley's really talking about Dan Hurley. Read between the lines.
Okay.
He's not talking about the team. Dan Hurley has taken literally 3 different teams. One team got to the Elite Eight and got put out. The next 2 teams won national championships. He's got a bulldog in Reed in the middle. Slamson Sampson is Mr. Sensational himself. And this is Alex Caravan's team. Dan Hurley is looking at his coaching ability, and he's making that assessment. It's not even based on the players. Now, I got to agree with Anthony. I got them going to the Elite Eight. Now, if they sneak past the Elite Eight to the Final Four, that's gravy. And if they get to the national championship, oh man, I'm gonna be turning cartwheels in Maryland. You know what I'm saying? So realistically, to me, the elite eight should be their stopping point. But now I got to throw this out there too, because I looked at the pairings and what some of the number ones possibly could be, and I'll pull that up for you in a few minutes if we come back to this a little bit later. UConn is already Auburn pretty much had a turnover. Alabama has turnovers. Duke, they're touting as the next national champion because of Cooper Flagg, who originally was coming to UConn and then backed out. I got news for you. Pay close attention. I like what Dan Hurley said about 3 or 4 years ago. If they're going to get us, they better get us now. UConn has that type of offense that if you're not used to seeing their type of offense, they will suddenly punch you in the mouth and you won't know what hit you. So here's what I am going to say. I'm going to stick to my Elite Eight prediction. I'm going to pray for the national championship. They can three-peat, but it's more like a 60% chance of happening. That's where I am on that.
Okay, but you wouldn't, well, like what Dan Hurley said, you wouldn't say the season's a failure if they don't.
I just said to you, Dan Hurley's not talking about the team.
Okay.
Dan Hurley is talking about Dan Hurley.
Okay. Yep. So
He wants to be named among the elitist coaches, if you know what I mean.
Right,
he wants to be mentioned with Adolph Rupp. He wants to be mentioned with Woody out there in California, UCLA. He wants to be mentioned with all those greats. And if he pulls off this three-peat, he's automatically in that conversation.
Absolutely. Kendall, what's your thoughts?
Well, he identifies himself as the best coach in the country. He said it during a basketball game this year. I think he's putting a little pressure on himself. I think we at Connecticut are happy with him, but it just seems like you come to Connecticut, you win a national championship because Calhoun's got one, Kevin Ollie's got one. You know, it's just like, you know, we're a pretty good basketball factory. As far as I'm concerned, you make it to the Elite Eight, Final Four, consider it a success because, I mean, you lost Castle, you lost the Great Wall of Britain. I mean, you pretty much lost solid players, and the way Castle was performing in the NBA, he was obviously a force, whether you knew it or not. I don't consider it a bad season. I consider himself he's a great coach, and he puts the pressure on him. I agree with the bishop. He's looking in the mirror, saying if we don't make it to the national championship, he failed, not the team.
Hey, Don, what's your thoughts on that?
I sort of see it a little different. See, I think a lot of this too. It's about him. I agree with those guys on that, but I think he's putting pressure on his players because if they love him, they're gonna back him up. So they're gonna play up very hard to try to get this championship for him. I think that's one way to throw it out there and get those players. Because, see, this year ain't like the last 2 years. He's got to play extra hard this year, and he got to get his team to play extra hard right now. The Elite Eight is not good enough for him is what he's saying. And those guys are listening. And I think we're going to see a lot of hustle out of them. Don't count them out.
All right. So talk a little NFL a little bit. The Buffalo Bills and quarterback Josh Allen agreed to a 6-year, $330 million contract with $250 million guaranteed. Now, he's the league MVP. He won this year. And he has the largest contract right now in NFL history. Do you guys think in that 6-year period that Josh Allen will win a Super Bowl, seeing that the Eagles showed how you can beat Patrick Mahomes? So what do you guys think? Larry, let me start with you. I saw you shaking your head no. So do you think over that 6-year period, do you think Josh Allen will win a Super Bowl?
It's his competition level is very, very high. He got to beat Kansas City. He got to beat the Ravens. You know, there's a lot of competition out there. And he's that type of dude that's going to go try to get everything he can with his own legs. You know what I'm saying? And sign a 6-year contract. I think putting an investment out there like that sometimes is good. You might save money in the long run, but sometimes that can end up very bad for you. You know, so them doing all these 6-year contracts, and they're doing this so they don't have to keep paying him extra money every year because the price of quarterbacks is getting higher and higher. And if he was smarter, he would have took a 6-year deal.
Okay. What about you, Anthony? Do you think Josh Allen over this 6-year period can possibly win a Super Bowl?
Wake me up when they get a real running back. Then maybe we can talk about them being the best team in the AFC at this point. I got to go back to what Larry said. You still got Baltimore. You still got KC. And you see with some of the what's been going on with some of the free agent signings and trades, there's still a lot. There's still a lot more that has to be done. I think everybody was shocked that Garrett re-upped with Cleveland. I mean, hey, they just basically just did the show me the money thing, and I can't blame them for that. But Buffalo will rule the East probably, but after that, they still have a lot to prove, and I don't know if there's I think their Super Bowl window is closing rapidly. I don't know if I don't think if they don't win a Super Bowl or at least get to a Super Bowl in the next year or two, I think the door is slammed shut.
All right. What about you, Bishop? You think
Anthony just said it all. Anthony just said it all. I mean, I'll give him 3 years, 3 good years that Allen has. And like he said, you better get not a mediocre running back, but I mean somebody that's a thrasher, somebody that can go beast mode, somebody that looks like, a grown man with a bunch of little boys chasing him like they have over there in Baltimore. I'm trying to think of his name, King Henry.
Yeah.
I should have looked at your name, Henry, huh? Anyway.
And talking about the run back last year, the NFL really slept because you had Barkley and Derrick Henry out there. And a lot of the teams that needed running backs didn't even touch them guys. But
their contracts are too big. Philadelphia had enough cap space to bring Barkley in. But now they had to restructure his contract, so he's got back money.
They just signed.
King Henry ain't asked that much money.
They just gave him a new deal. But before let me get Kendall and Donald's thoughts on before we go into that. Kendall, what do you think as far as will Josh Allen over the next 6 years win a Super Bowl?
Josh Allen.
Jerry Green.
What's up, Jerry?
What's up, Jerry?
All right, we'll see you later, Jerry.
And here's the situation. He really has to concern himself with about 4 teams in the AFC. He's got to really concern himself with Cincinnati. They got up to a good start. They've got they got the quarterback and the 2 receivers. He's got to concern himself, obviously, with Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is probably going to have a target on his back against Josh Allen because how dare you take my MVP when I'm the only quarterback in history to get 4,000 passing yards and 900 rushing yards, okay? I mean, how do you take away an MVP from that individual? They're probably going to say the head-to-head matchup that made it happen. You got Kansas City sitting back here saying, wait a minute, this was no reflection on us. We need to go back and see Philadelphia again. So you got these issues here. And, there's just too much going on in the AFC for me to think that Buffalo has a shot at making a Super Bowl. They locked in their quarterback the best that they could do, but until they surround him with a solid running back, as Jalen Hurts did, and a few more little offensive linemen, because Josh Allen did a lot of running. No Super Bowl. I don't think so.
Okay. Don, did Bob call in yet?
Let me tell you, I think don't underestimate the Bills right now because they paying Josh Allen all that money, not for nothing. These guys are right there knocking at the door. You guys are not acting like they're not knocking at the door. All they need is a running back. Everybody seems to agree on that. They can find that in 6 years or in 3 years even. All they need is a little push to get them over that hump. Because they proved themselves this year. They made it to the Chiefs, which is where they want to make it. All they got to do now is make it over the hump. So I think you guys are playing them a little too lightly. They're not spending all this money just to sit back and not get them a running back and keep getting ran over. I think they're trying to make some noise and give them a couple of years.
I'm going to say this, Don. Najee Harris from Pittsburgh was out there. That's about as good a running back as he needs to be able to do what he needs to do. And what did he let them do? Did the Chargers end up with him, I think, if I'm not mistaken? Yeah, you had Najee Harris sitting in there in free agency. You could have got him for next year.
They should give him 3 years. I should give him 3 years.
I gave him 3 years, but they need a running back. Whether they get it from
that don't mean you can't get one in 3 years.
I didn't say certain. I gave him 3 years.
If you're looking, you're gonna find. Looking,
like I said, I gave him 3 years. That's Josh Allen's window. Now, if he finds a running back that can keep him in the pocket and keep him from scrambling like he's about to get run over by a Mack truck, hey, that works for him. The defense still has to stay at the stellar, when they're not really stellar performance. They're just above sea level, if you ask me. Just ever so slightly. Defense is a B+ to me for the Buffalo Bills. But it's good enough to win. So, and somebody said it, I believe Kendall and I believe Larry said it. I'm not sure if Anthony said it, but I give credit to all who said it. They still got to get past they got to get past Baltimore. They got to get past Kansas City. They got a dark horse in Cincinnati. And who knows, maybe the Texans might straighten out and fly right this year. We don't know.
But
So
you're acting like the Bills are not even a threat. They're a threat too. They're right up there with all those boys.
Who's
anyway, we got Bob McCormick coming on now, Henry.
Okay.
All right, go ahead, Bob.
Take yourself off mute, Bob.
Oh.
$30 million extension with the team. Allen is the reigning league MVP. Buffalo also made news releasing 8-time Pro Bowler pass rusher Von Miller, but remains open to bringing him back. Brown's defensive end, he got a big contract. Myles Garrett has agreed to a record contract extension that gives him $123.5 million in guaranteed money, making him the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. The Seahawks are signing quarterback Sam Darnold to 3 years, $100.5 million contract. Jets signing quarterback Justin Fields to 2 years, $40 million. Former Jets Broncos quarterback Zach Wilson going to the Dolphins 1 year, $6 million. Colts signed former Giants QB Daniel Jones 1 year, $17.7 million. Patriots agreed to 2 years, $8 million contract with veteran quarterback Joshua Dobbs. Quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo agrees to return to the Rams on a 1 year deal. Top free agent cornerback Paulson Adebo, the former Saint, has signed with the Giants. Other news the Giants are making, they made a lot of signings. Defensive tackle Roy Robertson-Harris, former Ravens captain Chris Board, 2 years, $6 million. Safety Javon Holland, edge defender Chauncey Golston, 3 years, $19.5 million. They also re-signed wide receiver Darius Slayton and quarterback Danny DeVito. The Eagles traded defensive back C.J. Gardner to the Texans for offensive lineman Kenyon Green. The Rams plan on releasing Cooper Kupp, their wide receiver. The Chiefs sign offensive lineman Jalen Moore, 2 years, $30 million. Former Jets defensive end Hassan Reddick, he signed with the Buccaneers. The Steelers acquired DK Metcalf from the Seahawks and give him a 5-year contract extension. Another guy getting a big contract, defensive end Max Crosby, 3 years, $106.5 million. Quarterback Geno Smith traded to the Raiders for a draft pick. Rams and Devontae Adams agreed to 2 years, $26 million. Vikings re-signed Aaron Jones, 2 years, $20 million. Chiefs re-signed linebacker Nick Bolton, 3 years, $45 million. Chiefs wide receiver Hollywood Brown returns on a 1 year deal worth up to $11 million. On to baseball. Yankees ace Garrett Cole is out for the season. He's going to have Tommy John surgery. The Red Sox pitchers Brian Bello and Cutter Crawford will not be ready for the opening day. Bello has a shoulder injury. In this afternoon in spring training action, it was the Phillies 18, Red Sox 8, Orioles 6, Yankees 2, the Astros 7, the Mets 4. 4 games are on tap tonight in the NBA. Among them are the Nets and Cavaliers. I don't know if you guys talked about this yet. The Lakers, LeBron James is out 1 to 2 weeks with a groin strain. The Knicks, Jalen Brunson is out 2 weeks with an ankle injury. Giannis Antetokounmpo reaches 20,000 points with the Bucks. A rare Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant rookie jerseys expected to sell for $20 million at a Sotheby's auction this month. Onto the ice in the hockey. In hockey news, Bruins trade Brad Marchand to the Panthers for a draft pick. Those 2 teams get together on the ice tonight. Also, Rangers, Jets, Islanders, Kings, Devils, Blue Jackets. Number 3 UConn women win the Big East title last night over Creighton. The men play Thursday night. Right now, it's not known because they'll play one of the winners in tomorrow's games at Madison Square Garden. The tourney gets underway. Former Chief Safety Justin Reed, getting word on this, agrees to a 3-year deal with the Saints. The Cowboys All-Pro returner Cavante Turpin agrees to a 3-year, $18 million deal with the team. Coco Gauff is on to the round of 16 at Indian Wells. She plays tomorrow. And finally, golfer Tiger Woods underwent surgery on a ruptured Achilles. He's doubtful he's going to play in the Masters this year. And that's all the sports I got for you, Donald.
Thank you, Bob.
All right, Bob. Thank you.
Well, I'm canceling my hotel for the Masters.
Yes.
Yeah, all right.
No, seriously, I do have a hotel room to go to the Masters. I'm canceling that.
Okay. Hey, so
Yeah.
quick question. So now the Seattle Seahawks, which Bob just mentioned, they traded Geno Smith to the Raiders. And then they signed quarterback Sam Darnold with a contract agreement for 3 years, $100 million, and $55 million of it is guaranteed. My question to you guys, is Sam Darnold that much better than Geno Smith? Anthony, I know you're going to have to leave in a little while, so I'll start with you, give you a chance to answer that question. So I just answer that because that's what I'm thinking about this, and I just want to see what you got.
That's a downgrade for Seattle. And when you consider the fact that Geno is going to be playing for his old coach as well, he's probably going to have a few more weapons out there as well. Plus the fact that they I know it's not related to offense, but I think them signing up Crosby for the next few years, arguably one of the better defensive players in the league. I'm not saying they're going to win the West because, it's still Kansas City's, domain, but I think you could pencil in. I'm penciling in the Raiders for at the very least a wild card right now, and I think Seattle, they may be 500, but they were the one NFC team last year that won 10 games and didn't get in, and I think they're taking a step back.
Yeah. So, Larry, what's your thoughts?
It was all about money. What's name is the better quarterback, but he wanted about $10 million more, and they got Donald. They got him cheaper. They got him for about $33 million. So it was like the price tag was the best for them. So they actually saved money instead of signing them. But Donald is not as good as he is, but he's not that far off neither.
Okay, what's your thoughts, Bishop?
Well, eat black beans and wait to go to the bathroom. That's pretty much all I'm going to say on that one.
Okay.
It won't be long till they find out what we at Minnesota have all been afraid of. And although we held our breath, even up to the playoff game, Sam Darnold, to me, I don't want to bash the young man. I applaud the season he's had, but you got to remember, he's had 4-star receivers, 2 top-notch tight ends, a decent running back, and then that defense is what kept him out of trouble. If you go back and look, the defense saved Darnold on a lot of games. We go, he went 14-3. The defense won at least 6 of those games.
Okay.
At least 6. So let's take away those 6 games. Now, how good does he look? Seattle, I hope you're watching. Somebody from Seattle call the coach, tell him to call WJRG. We want to talk to you. What the heck was your GM thinking? Is the oysters that bad out there in Seattle? I just don't know, man. Scale of 1 to 10, man, they gave away money. Like I said, just grab a can of black beans and chew on because you're going to the bathroom soon.
All right, Kendall, what's your thoughts on that? As far
Well,
as, do you remember what the question was, Gino?
Yeah.
The difference between him and Sam.
Question.
Well, Sam Darnold did pretty well in Minnesota, with the exception of the last 2 games, and he's still being rewarded for the last 2 games. I mean, $55 million guaranteed. You know, and he said he had all 4 receivers in Washington. He had a good defense. He had a nice team around him. So I don't think he's going to repeat that success with the new team. I think that, I mean, they did what they did. They found themselves, what was it, like a 12-4? What was his record last year, Bishop? Something
14,
like that.
14
They were 10-7. 10-7. I thought you were talking about Seattle.
Right,
I'm sorry.
Minnesota.
Donald.
14
Minnesota, yeah.
Minnesota,
14-3.
14-3.
I'm sorry.
So they got themselves a 14-3 quarterback who was responsible for, 14 of those wins and probably responsible for 2 of those losses. He's a solid quarterback. He showed it. He had 1 good year and he got rewarded. But I don't think that he's going to go that far because he doesn't have the team behind him that he had in Minnesota.
Kendall, lay off the peanut butter and jelly. 6 of those games, the defense won. It was not Darnold. It was not Darnold.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I'm a Minnesota fan, so I'm sure he saw it.
I remember at the beginning of the season that the Bishop, he had the Vikings in the
Super Bowl.
they was gonna meet. He at the beginning of the season, when Donald was doing good, they were gonna meet up, and the Viking was gonna win. He had all that blue, that purple haze in the back of him.
Yes, sir.
See the Bishop, all that haze in the back of him.
Yes, sir.
But he never was big on Sam Darnold. I think Sam Darnold is he's still gonna make it out there. He ain't gonna have what he had, but he had no choice but to leave. You guys wasn't gonna keep him, were you?
We weren't going to franchise him. That's for sure.
He wasn't gonna franchise, so he had no choice but to leave.
He got rewarded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I think he did good for you guys.
I'm glad. I mean,
you probably won't get that next year. Watch.
Realistically, though, Don, I'm happy for Sam Darnold that he was there. Kirk Cousins did the same exact thing. And I'm sorry, you guys don't have to agree with me, but Kirk Cousins and Sam Darnold, to me, came from the same cookie cutter. That's in my opinion. They got out there and played great during the regular season, even though the defense won a lot of games for both of them. Yet when the playoffs came, like a cheap suit, the threads just fell out. Simple as that.
The pressure was big.
It wasn't the pressure. It's just that the truth of them, they came to the surface. We saw their true potential come to the surface. And when they turned around, the Rams exposed them in that ridiculous loss in the regular season. Detroit followed the Rams suit. And then 2 weeks later or 3 weeks later, it's a repeat. And then as soon as they got to the doggone playoffs, what happened?
Yeah. But that was one of the things that I was saying. Minnesota team-wise, they were strong. The weakest link was the quarterback against all the playoff teams. You can see it. But staying with football, then we're going to go to basketball a little bit, and we'll go back to football. Now, Myles Garrett and the Cleveland Browns have agreed on a record contract and for $40 million a year, and $123 million is guaranteed money, making him the highest non-quarterback player in NFL history. Do you guys think this contract is going to impact the Michael Parsons Dallas Cowboys contract talk? Larry, Anthony, I'm gonna let you go first because I know you might have to leave a little early.
Mm-hmm.
So what are your thoughts? The impact that's going to have with the Cowboys and Michael Parsons?
We'll put it this way: that scream you heard from Arlington was the Jones family, because basically now whatever he was going to offer him, it's going. The ante is going to go up, and we know Jerry or there's a. I'm not gonna say he's cheap, mind you, because he has gone out and signed guys. But I get the, let's put it this way. I know it's a bit premature, but why do I get the feeling that Michael Parsons is going to miss the first part of the of training camp
Yeah.
for some reason? I just got I'm getting that vibe, knowing Jerry's history in holding on to them purse strings.
Yeah. And see, if Jerry would have signed him last year, then he would, you know, but Larry, what's your thoughts?
He's not going to get 40 million. You know, that's just crazy. You know, and besides that, you're talking about that'd be 100 million between two people for 1 year. You know,
Yep.
And they can't afford that and have a team. You know, so what's going to happen? It's going to be a lot of negotiation, and I doubt if he get over 35. You know, because Dallas going to say that they do the draft or whatever, but the rate is still going up, you know, so they might as well come up with the cash or just it's going to be a bad season again next year.
Yeah. Bishop, what are your thoughts? What do you think?
Well, I mean, let's think about this for a minute. We're talking about Jerry Jones. We're talking about the Jones family sitting there trying to sell stuff so they can get enough money to pay who they already got. Not to mention the fact that Dak Prescott's contract still is still out there, and he's got to pay him exorbitant amounts of money. Their cap space,
And he even took a pay cut too.
yeah, and the cap space is extremely limited. I'm putting to you like this: Parsons is going to ask for the money. If Parsons, thank you. Ain't nobody but Don. Anyway, if Parsons is going to get paid at all, Dallas has just sold the farm. I'm saying, I'm serious about that. If Parsons gets paid anywhere near what Garrett gets, Dallas just sold the team. You can look for the next 5 years for Dallas to be mediocre for the next 5 years.
What about you, Kendall? What's your thoughts?
Michael Parsons earns just as much as Myles Garrett. He's equal. He's equal to player. He's got leverage. Cleveland just did whatever they could do to save their franchise. They paid him more money than anyone's ever received because he said he wasn't coming back. So they made him an offer he could not refuse, and he would not refuse. Now, Cleveland should build around that. But once again, I get that same funny vibe that Anthony's getting, that Michael Parsons is going to be holding out during training camp because he could pretty much command that amount of money. When you watch the game, you could arguably say that Michael Parsons and Myles Garrett have been consistently the two most dominant defensive players year after year. And also, T.J. Watt is up, you know? So you got some players that are like, yes, Myles, thank you.
What about you, Donald?
Well, Dallas, you know, we always say every year it's the same thing with Jerry Jones. You know, he always holding out.
Yeah.
And now it's really going to kick him in the butt this year. Because he could have went on and got this thing taken care of for a lot less money. So, yeah, I think we all going to see him sitting on the bench, Parsons holding out now because, you know, Jerry Jones still going to try to play tough ball because that's the way he likes to play. But this time, it's really, will he learn from this? That should be our question. Will he learn from this? Because he's definitely going to pay the price.
Yeah, he's going to have to pay. You know what I mean? He's going to have to pay. All right, so let's go to the NBA. So, Bishop, you had a question that which NBA team had the best weekend this past weekend? So, the Denver Nuggets, they beat OKC 140-127. Now, the Cleveland Cavaliers, they won over the weekend. They currently have a 14-game winning streak. The Warriors, since trading for Jimmy Butler, they won again this weekend. They are 12-1. The Celtics beat my Lakers, but you know LeBron's hurt. We're going to get to that next. But out of that, which one do you guys think? With Cleveland keeping their streak going, winning 14 straight games, Denver Nuggets they beat up OKC, and Golden State won. They 12-1 with Jimmy Butler. What do you got there? So Anthony, because I'll start with you, give you a chance to answer before you have to rule out.
Got to go with the Cavs. I mean, longest current streak right now. Went into Boston to beat Boston. And the thing about it is they've won different ways. I guess Milwaukee pushed them as far as they could last night, but Cleveland was able to prevail. And I don't know if you guys had a chance to see the game, but you're starting to see Cleveland, the confidence as a team. Their confidence seems to be growing every game now. I mean, I still think I'm not gonna lie, I still say the Celtics are the team to beat in the East, but the Cavs are going to be a problem. The Cavs are going to be a problem.
Yes. What about you, Bishop?
Well, again, I'm agreeing with Anthony. I mean, I've got a chance to sit down and watch some NBA games now that football is finished, and Cleveland is impressive. I said I was going to hold what I thought about them. I can no longer hold it. They are a legitimate team. They are truly a legitimate team, and they didn't just walk over, run-of-the-mill teams. They beat up some pretty decent teams over the last few weeks. So with that being said, I mean, I know everybody's thinking Boston for the repeat, but and even Larry got it written down there. Celtics awesome repeat. No, not this trip, because when they meet up with Cleveland in the finals, they're gonna just go out and go get a license and sell popcorn in the stands. That's pretty much it.
Right. So what's your thoughts, Larry, on this weekend?
It's just like this. We are in the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing great. They 51-10, 14-game winning streak. They flying high. They had a few injuries during the season, and they're looking really good. But when it comes playoff times, and Celtics got a complete team, and the Porzingis is back, they got a complete team. The only complete team that can go ahead and take out Cleveland. So I still going with Boston because I think they got a complete team. And Cleveland they still got on training wheels. They're doing good. They're doing real good, but they ain't get bounced around yet in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's going to be a big test for Boston. As far as that. Kendall, what's your thought?
The best team to me, I think Cleveland had the best because of that 14-game winning streak, and it started on that Garland heave to win the game when he made that shot and stood there in the middle. And from that point on, and they beat the Celtics, and they came back from 25-3 and from the Celtics. So, and I saw them. Didn't I tell you guys?
Yeah.
I watched them, and I did not expect to think that this team was this good. That guard combo of Garland and the Spider, oh my God! I just can't wait to see them go against Boston. Evan Mobley has what it takes to deal with Porzingis, so it's a toss-up. But you got to beat the champs. You got to beat Boston. Boston is looking good. So I just think that you got to look at Boston looking real good. Who had the better weekend? Cleveland, because they had a 12-game winning streak going into the weekend, and now we're at 14. I think Denver is kicked. They're now getting their self together, and I think we got 4 teams that are emerging as the clear-cut favorites to be in the Eastern and Western Conference Final. I think we got OKC, 11 games ahead of everybody. Denver, who just went ahead of the Lakers. I mean, LeBron is hurt, though. Denver, Cleveland, and Celtics. But who had the better weekend? Cleveland. I think so.
What about you, Donald? What's your thoughts?
No doubt about Cleveland had the best weekend. Plus, Boston better watch out. I hear what you guys are saying, but, like Porzingis, you don't know what he's not good in the playoff. He always get hurt. Will he be able to come to the playoff and finish the whole thing? Cleveland, I think, is going to be much healthier than Boston, which could make a big difference. I still say Cleveland last year was not as healthy as they need to be. And I just think that Boston better watch out because I don't think Porzingis is going to stay healthy. And without a good healthy Porzingis, I don't believe they could beat Cleveland.
I would agree with that. If Porzingis is not healthy, then they're not going to beat Cleveland in a 7-game series. But if Boston's fully healthy, then
it's going to be a run. If both teams are healthy, it's just going to be a matchup. It's going to be
right.
I see it going 7.
one thing I'll give to
Why?
Boston, if Boston is healthy, because Boston been there, they've done it. You know, they took their lumps. You know, keep building and get the championship and lose or whatever. So they've been there. They know what it takes. Tatum and Brown, that team, they know what it takes to do it. But you know, like that. But Cleveland is that up and coming team. So their big challenge, if Porzingis is healthy, is they got to get over Boston. Because I think there's no one else I see, not Milwaukee, no one else in the East can stop Cleveland. I don't see it.
Cleveland going to be hungry and thirsty too now.
Yes.
You got that right.
You know, Boston got the
see it.
experience, but you looking at some hungry boys.
Yeah.
Donovan Mitchell would love that first trophy.
Listen,
He would
Amen.
listen. I always say I don't know who was drafted ahead of Donovan Mitchell, but whenever he's on the court, he seems to look better than just about anybody on the court.
He does. He really does.
He
Alonzo
does.
Ball. The Lakers took Alonzo Ball when they could have had.
See, they should have kicked Alonzo Ball's dad out of the doggone draft room.
Yeah.
But to me, I like Tatum, I like Brown, but I think Donovan Mitchell. I think he's the most talented out of all three of them. But them two guys are great. So I'm hoping Porzingis is healthy, and I would love to see a 7-game series between them guys. That would be a great one because Boston is still the champs. You got to knock them out. But again, like you said, Porzingis, can you count on him? Last year, he was there in the playoffs. He missed a lot of the season last year, but he was there in the playoffs. The whole thing is, can he count on him? That's going to be the
Boston's dynamic too. Put it on the Lakers because Jason Tatum had 40 points, 12 assists, and my favorite Boston Celtic, we know who that is, Jaylen Brown, literally put 30 and 8 up there on him and locked down Doncic. I mean Luka, and Boston is a team.
And you know now Tatum and Brown are still young because they've been winning so much.
Yeah.
You seem like them guys is old, but they ain't. I think they only like 27, 28, something like that. Them guys is young.
They got to go down when it's all said and done as probably the best duos in Boston history. They've already got a championship. And I guarantee you, if they make it to that championship, Tatum is going to try to go off. You know what I mean? And they're not really in competition. They remind me of Joe Dumars and Isaiah Thomas. They got to that first championship. Dumars did his thing, but the next time they came around, Isaiah got his. You know, so I don't knock them. I do not knock Boston. They're the champs. They look good. Cleveland, I saw them up. I told you guys, I saw them up close and personal, and you got to see the way they play.
They look good, man. They look good.
But you gotta respect Detroit. Detroit's up and coming.
Detroit's
Detroit,
yes, they are.
Detroit's a couple years
Depends
away.
on matchups. If Detroit gets Cleveland, because they're gonna get one of the lower seeds, and if they run the Detroit, they might get knocked out.
That's
the possibility. That is the possibility.
Well, I mean, you can turn around.
I don't think they'll knock Cleveland out.
Boston as well.
They won't knock them out.
They might not meet Boston because Cleveland got the best record. If you check the way it is now, they will be running into. They'll be running into Cleveland.
Well, I mean, I'll be honest with you.
I think Cleveland will beat Detroit. I think.
But I tell you though, Larry, the other thing is if Milwaukee's still sitting out there, so either one of them teams going to have to go on a 7-game series, either Boston or Cleveland, depending on how to in one of the rounds to either for them two teams to meet. Somebody's going to have to knock out Milwaukee too.
I'd rather knock out Milwaukee because Milwaukee is injury prone. You know what I'm saying?
They got Doc Rivers.
Their team, they don't have a cohesive team, so
Milwaukee.
But I've been watching Detroit, and they're the truth.
Yeah, Detroit looked good in the
Milwaukee
7 games.
has not
But see,
beaten-
I'll say this about
not beaten
Detroit.
the Celtics.
Last year, sorry, Kendall, were you
Okay.
saying something?
Yeah, I'll say Milwaukee has not beaten the Knicks. They haven't beaten Boston. They haven't beaten Cleveland. And we got to concern ourselves with Boston because guess what? The number 4 option and the number 6 option just exploded, both of them for 40 points in the game. And one of them had 9 3-pointers and the other one had 10. You know what I mean? So that's kind of serious. Can you imagine hitting 9 3-pointers in the game to break the old Boston record, but not to have the record because a guy in the same game on your same team had 10 and they both had 40. That's a problem. You know what I mean?
Well,
When you got
Boston NBA champs, they're gonna be tough.
yeah, that's tough.
But like Larry was saying, Detroit, they're up and coming. Now last year, Detroit, they didn't even make the playoffs last year.
No,
So
it was
this year they
sad
turned
last
around.
year.
They're having a good season, but when they get in the playoffs and you got to play that one good team, 7, you got to beat them 4 times out of 7. We'll just have to wait and see because we got to see. They don't have that experience yet, but they might be able to do it. So let's talk about the Lakers real quick. LeBron James is expected to miss 1 to 2 weeks with a groin injury. And also Rudy Hachimura, he's expected to miss about the same amount of time. And also the center is hurt. So the Lakers lost last night. They lost to Brooklyn. And they got 7 more games to play over the next 2 weeks. We'll see if LeBron be back. But they got to play the Milwaukee Bucks twice. They got to play Denver twice. Then they got to play Phoenix, the Spurs, and the Bulls. Now, the Spurs and the Bulls should be winnable games if Luka play up the part. But out of them 7 games, they got 4 with Milwaukee and Denver. Without LeBron and without Rudy and the center, Jason Hayes.
Jackson Hayes, yeah.
Jackson Hayes. What do you guys think the Lakers' chances are? How many games you think they'll win out of them 7 games? With 4 of them between Milwaukee and Denver. So you got 4. You got to play them two teams. Then you got the other 3. Let's start with you, Bishop.
I'm gonna say they can win 4 out of the 7, and they can squeeze out a 5th. But Dante's gonna have to literally carry this team. And when I say carry them, scoop them up and keep running. I'll give them 4 out of 7, possible.
Okay. And Larry, what's your thoughts on that?
Right now, the Lakers are falling, and they're gonna fall fast. And you got Golden State, who's right now is winning majority of the games. And if Golden State can pull up to the number 5 spot, the Lakers gonna be in trouble.
Yeah.
They're gonna be in trouble. If they fall below 5, they're gonna be in trouble for the playoffs.
Okay.
Right now it's not that much difference between Golden State and the Lakers right now in the standings.
Right. In the games, right. That's true. In the standings. But that was the whole thing we were saying that nobody don't get hurt. They were at number 2, but now how long can because there was only like 1 or 2 games dip between most of them teams.
Yes, absolutely.
Kendall, what's your thoughts?
2 and 5 out of the next 7 games. They may beat Milwaukee. They'll split with Milwaukee, and they'll beat one of the also ran teams. But they're not going to beat Denver.
Nope.
Not at all. I mean, Rui Hachimura and Jackson Hayes Jackson Hayes is an active 7-footer. Hachimura was hanging out with LeBron James all summer long. So, he looked good before he got hurt. Austin Reeves, Luka Doncic, and LeBron James. You give me that 5, they're going to do okay. But now you got 3 of them missing. They don't even have a way to, adapt some sort of chemistry. And you got to think how teams are thinking. They smell blood in the water. LeBron's not here. Luka's not really one of the tougher defenders. I guarantee you, if you blow by Luka, you ain't gonna worry about him coming over your back to smack it. But if you blow by LeBron, you have a problem. He will track you down. Okay.
All right now.
Yeah.
You know, look, rep. You know, he's a great offensive player, but defense does seem to be
Not his forte.
No, that's not a sport time.
You know, so I think now the NBA players, they smell blood in the water. I think they figure, okay, your father, your uncle's not here, Uncle LeBron's not here. We're about to take you out. I think they're gonna put it on him, and we'll see what happens. See if Luka can stand up to him.
All right. What's your thoughts, Donald?
I have to agree with Kendall on the 2 out of 5. But I've been watching Luka. I'm sure all y'all have. Luka haven't really settled in with the Lakers really good. He's not home yet.
Right.
He's not playing his best games yet. He's not being himself yet. You know, he played good with LeBron James, but even though how many points he had last night?
I think he had 29.
But he took about 40 shots.
But he missed a lot of shots, though.
Yeah, he missed a lot of shots.
Yeah.
So you can see he's not comfortable yet. You know, this is not the Luka we're used to. So there's no way that they're gonna get anything over, like I say, 2 out of 5 out of this thing.
Yeah.
And you know, they're gonna fall down to the bottom of the list. And you guys better keep listening to what I'm trying to tell you. LeBron James, all right, he might be out 2 weeks now. I kept telling you, the man, 40 years old, he can't keep bouncing back like this. He might get hurt again in the playoff. Mark my words.
Yeah, he might. He's at 40. So
40.
I'm gonna
And Luka's pretty hurt too. His back is giving a lot of trouble.
That's
A
right.
lot.
yeah,
That's
when you
right.
go around the other game,
That
They
is
showed him
right.
getting treatment on the sideline over there, putting the pad on his back and
he's
everything
got,
during the game.
and he's got
Yeah.
nothing to be ashamed of. He's 40 years old, still
No,
out
we're
there.
talking about Luka now.
Oh,
I'm
Luka.
talking about
Luka.
Luka. Luka's really hurt.
They were putting
Luka
the whole
playing like
ball
he's 40 right about now.
because that back was killing him.
Okay.
yeah,
And you know it's hard
Hey.
to play ball with that bad back. Ain't it, Bishop?
Luka's playing like he's 40 right about now.
yeah, I
Yes, he
know.
is.
He
You
put
know?
out against the Knicks.
Yeah.
So go to NFL real quick. So the New York Jets signed quarterback Justin Fields to a 2-year, $40 million contract. 30 of it is guaranteed. You think that's a good? It's really cheap for the Jets. Do you think Justin Fields is going to play good for the Jets? Let's start with you, Larry. What do you think?
I think it's a great move. I think it's a great move. They have a really good defense. The offensive line can improve some, but they got a better offensive line than what Pittsburgh have. He ain't got to run for his life all day. So I think that might bring him out. You know, if he can get comfortable, and they got pretty good receivers, I think he'd do good as a Jet. He can't do no worse.
All right. What about you, Bishop?
Well, listen, and they just got that new head coach, the defensive coordinator from Detroit. So I expect big things out of this young man because I was impressed with him as a defensive coordinator. I'm quite sure he's going to have the pieces around Fields to get Fields on the right track. And Fields all he needs is a good QB coach, somebody of Kevin O'Connell or what's the quarterback coach for Philadelphia, somebody along those lines that can help. And I think if they kept their quarterback coach, I think he's going to do all right. I think I'm going to see big things out of Fields. Somebody said it earlier. They see Buffalo dominating the East. If the Jets got anything to say about it, you know, but we'll find out this year. I think he's going to do okay. It was a good deal for the Jets. Not too much money. Still leave some money so they can make some improvements because their special teams still needs help. Their secondary needs a little bit of help. They can use one more good receiver because they just let go of used to play with Aaron. They just let go of him. So they need one more decent receiver. I think the Jets will be okay. Their offensive line is, I'd say, average, just slightly above average. They'd be able to hold it. Fields won't have to run for his life. At least they can give him about 2 or 3 seconds to throw the ball. So I'm going to just say Fields will do very well. If the Jets don't win the division, I think they wouldn't finish any worse than second.
All right. What about you, Kendall?
I think Fields is a good player. I thought that Fields was the better player in Pittsburgh, but I think that Mike Tomlin decided he was going to go and start a Super Bowl winning quarterback with the experience. And Russell Wilson did reel off 6 or 7 good wins for Pittsburgh. But before that, can we remember Fields as a Chicago Bear when that young blood was getting like 3,000 yards in the air and 800 yards on the ground? He's a solid player. I think the Jets did what they needed to do. They've always had the defense. They just had a quarterback who was actually throwing his receivers into bad pass coverage.
Yeah.
I'm going to put something on you guys on our little chat line, and it's Shannon Sharp talking about John Elway. Might have done it on how John Elway, if he hit it in the numbers, someone's coming behind him. Do it up that shoulder, the man was coming that way. Do it that way, like John Elway threw it away. And I believe Aaron Rodgers, talented quarterback, can throw it behind his back. I mean, he's great, but he just flings it. And a lot of his receivers get hurt. And I guarantee it's probably a higher number than any of the quarterbacks, pretty much. So I think that Aaron Rodgers leaving Green Bay, no matter how talented we think he is, he's still the third greatest quarterback in Green Bay history behind Brett Favre and Bart Starr. I think he's just one of those talents, like really good, but not great with a team as a team player. So, I mean, if I were him, I mean, he could do whatever he's got to do. He's a talented player, but I think the Jets are going to do a lot better with a player that may not be as talented, but more of a team player. Fields was a really good player.
Yeah, what about you, Don?
Well, the thing about it, Fields are just as happy as the Jets will.
Yeah.
He ain't got to worry about going to the bench and sitting out. He'll be the star now. He'll carry the team. You know what I mean? So Fields a happy man too. So I think that was good all the way around. Yeah. Even the Jets getting rid of Aaron Rodgers, I think that was a good move.
Yeah, that was good.
That was a great move.
The man 42, how much do he really got left in the tank? We might not see much at all this year. Right. That's one reason why the Jets got rid of. That's one reason why the bad passes. The man don't know when to quit. He still want to play. He really needs to retire. Because if whoever picks him up takes a big chance of him getting hurt and not finishing the season.
Now, let me ask you a question, Henry. Not to sidetrack. If Rodgers ends up at the Steelers, do you think Wilson's going to end up with the Giants?
Well, Bishop, this was going to be my. I was going to tell you this was going to be my question, because the Minnesota Vikings, they let Sam go, right? So if you look at all the quarterback signing, Fields just went to the Jets. So the quarterback that was in Seattle, Geno Smith, he's now with the Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
So there's two teams, like you said, there's the Giants, Minnesota, and the Steelers. We take
the Vikings.
That's what Minnesota. Them three teams.
No, you're right about that. But Minnesota is not taking Aaron Rodgers.
They might.
No.
But that's what going to be my question. Was now, if you look at, because now Steelers, they just let Fields go.
Yep.
All right, so they let Fields go. So now they have to decide, okay, is Wilson going to be our man, or are we going to let him go? Because there's how many other quarterbacks are really left now?
None.
Because, because Matthew Stafford's staying where he's at.
Yeah.
Right? Geno Smith is gone. Now he's off the table.
Kirk Cousins is still out there.
Who?
Kirk Cousins out there.
Oh,
do you want him back, Bishop? You want him back?
No. Look, if I listen, let me put it to you like this, and let's do it from a biblical perspective. Imagine Joshua taking the children of Israel right where Moses dropped them off, and that's as far as they go. That's Kirk Cousins. That is Sam Darnold. The sense of giving them the job.
So what do you want, Bishop? Do you want Aaron Rodgers there?
No, I don't want Aaron Rodgers.
What you gonna take?
Listen, now I know you guys can't see me. Let me stand up. This is what it's gonna be like. 222, huh?
So that's the thing, because if you look at the three main teams that we talked about, Minnesota, the Giants, and
the Steelers.
The Steelers right now, far as I know, I believe the Steelers still Russell Wilson is their quarterback. Far as I know, as of right now. I'm not
Yep.
sure if he's under contract or not. But I know Joe Flacco just signed with somebody as a backup for the Rams.
Yep.
So
Russell's not under contract.
And the other boy that Pittsburgh traded him, I mean the Eagles, their backup quarterback, they traded him, Plunkett.
Yeah.
He signed, they traded him to somebody. I can't remember. I heard it on the news. So he's gone. So I don't know, but Aaron Rodgers, I'm saying he needs to
I'm
retire.
gonna put it to you like this: if
but
Minnesota,
he hasn't. So out of the three teams, if the Steelers let, where do you think
He gonna
Aaron
wind up in
Rodgers
a
gonna
Viking
wind up?
uniform, Henry. I'm gonna settle that question for you. He gonna wind up in a Viking uniform. Aaron Rodgers, a Viking, all that purple.
What
He
you
might.
think?
and you know
I'd be
what?
embarrassed.
As much as I want to argue with Don on that one, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking they want him there just to make sure that JJ McCarthy is ready to go. But you got to remember this: when they're ready to put McCarthy in, Rodgers is not going to want to sit down. This is why I don't want Minnesota to touch Aaron Rodgers. This guy is a disruptor of a locker room. I'm sorry. He is a disruptor. And if O'Connell wants to keep harmony, keep Aaron Rodgers in limbo. Let Pittsburgh take him. Let the Giants take a shot at him. I mean, let the Titans take a shot at him. I think they need a quarterback too.
Yeah,
I mean,
somebody signed Daniel Jones. I heard
Indianapolis, a one-year deal.
Yeah.
Well, see, most of the quarterbacks, they're off the board. So there's only so many quarterbacks.
My whole thing is this: if JJ McCarthy's ready to go, let's just take our chances. Because I'm like this: bringing Aaron Rodgers in, we might look good for 2 or 3 games, but after that, the minute somebody smacks him in the mouth, it's over. Okay?
Yeah.
I don't even want to go down that road, because if Aaron Rodgers comes, and Don, I give you permission to stop me from talking. Okay, folks, you heard it. If Aaron Rodgers comes to Minnesota, I don't care if he wins 8 games straight. Don't let me start parading Minnesota. So, Bishop, you said on the 11th of March to stop you from talking, and I'm stopping you from talking.
Yeah.
I don't want Aaron Rodgers. I do not want Aaron. Mr. Coessy, I'm begging you, please, in my James Brown voice, please, don't take Aaron Rodgers.
What do you think, Larry?
Giants.
Where do you think Aaron Rodgers is going to end up?
Watch
Giants.
yourself.
Aaron
Watch
Rodgers
yourself,
is a
Larry.
joke. Aaron Rodgers is a joke. You know, Pittsburgh's not going to put up with him because they're too disciplined. They're going to make all the changes he wants. I think he's going to end up with the Giants because they need somebody to get a couple wins. Just anybody, because they ain't got nobody, so.
Good point.
I'm going to tell you who I want if we could get him. I wish they could have gotten Dexter Lawrence from the Giants. Oh, man, you want to talk about a mean
Trevor Lawrence, you mean?
From the Giants?
Dexter Lawrence ain't going nowhere.
I know that.
Okay.
He's
what
a
about
monster.
you, Kendall?
Hey, in my Sly and Family Stone voice, wishful thinking.
What about you, Kendall? What do you think? Because like that, Aaron Rodgers, there's only so many teams that go. All the other quarterbacks are pretty much off the board now.
42 years old, like you said, he should be a mentor for someone if he can volunteer to do something like that. He's had a great career. It's going to be in the Hall of Fame, although, like I say, he's going to be the 3rd best quarterback out of Green Bay. Someone's going to pick him up. He's a talent. We can't knock that. He's a talent. He's a Super Bowl winning quarterback, but like Bishop said, he is a disruptor in the locker room.
Yeah.
He got the whole coaching staff fired. He blamed everybody for their loss. And listen, he saw up last year, got hurt in the first play. You know what I mean? And kept on saying, "I'm going to come back on the sideline." Never gave us a definitive answer when he was going to come back. That's disruptive. You're out there on the sideline, you're throwing like, okay, maybe he's going to show up this year. Sit back, let us focus and do what we need to do. He's talented, but I agree with the Bishop that he is probably not, the best locker room companion.
Yeah. What about you, Donald? What do you think?
We already answered it.
Okay. So fellas, anybody else got anything to say? We're gonna.
Yeah, I told you I'd come back around.
Okay.
For the NCAA tournaments, which is going to begin in less than 2 weeks. Here are the projected. Now the sites. I'm going to hold that for a minute. Here are the 4 play-in games. Southern, which is out of Mississippi. What's the state down there? Help me out, Donald. You know Southern. They came up and beat UConn a few years ago. They're going to play American in the 16 seed. Xavier is going to play Ohio State. This is projected now. Quinnipiac College is going to play SIU Edwardsville. That's somewhere out there in the Cleveland area somewhere. And then Oklahoma is going to play Indiana. Now, I'm going to give you the regions. We are in the East region. We have Raleigh, Providence, Milwaukee, and Cleveland. The number 1 seed, they're projecting to be Duke. The number 2 seed, they're projecting to be Tennessee. The number 3 seed, they're saying is Iowa State. And the number 4 seed is Maryland. UConn is the number 8 in the Eastern region, which means that if everything falls like they got it now, UConn plays Duke the very next game, round 2. Now, hold on. Think about this, because, see, there's a little more to that than this. Cooper Flagg and Liam McNeely from UConn both went to the same school up in Maine. So they know each other's game. So if that happens, that is going to be the game to see. Now, let me move over here to the other side, to the Midwest, Indianapolis, Wichita, Denver, Providence, and Lexington are the places where they're playing. Houston is number 1. Alabama's number 2. St. John's is playing in the number 3 spot in Providence, mind you. And then the number 4 spot is Wisconsin. St. John's is going to tip off against UNC Wilmington. I watched that game last night. They got this 3-point shooter for UNC Wilmington. You better keep your eyes on him, because he'll put your lights out. He's not the second coming of Steph Curry, but last night he played like the second coming of Steph Curry. So, that's what we got. And Houston, I'm expecting Houston to go far this year. All right, up in the South region, which is going to be in Atlanta, which is where the finals is going to be. Lexington, Seattle, Milwaukee, and Cleveland are the sites where they're going to play. Number 1 is going to be Auburn. Number 2, Michigan State. Number 3 is going to be Texas A&M, of all people. And number 4, Clemson. In there, that's kind of a dark horse. They won't do much, but they may somehow get lucky. Central Connecticut. I don't think you've watched Central Connecticut this year. They're not as bad as you might think they are. On paper, they don't look that great, but on the court, it's a total different story. Now, let me go down to the West, and I'm going to wrap this up. In the number 1 spot is Florida. Number 2, Texas Tech. In the number 3 spot, we are looking at Kentucky, of all people. And in the number 4 spot, Purdue. Here it is, an interesting thing. Both UConn and Gonzaga are filling the number 8 spots.
Wow.
Dark horses that can actually suddenly come in and wipe out. I don't know why they got Creighton at number 9 when Creighton should have been number 8 in the Midwest in Indianapolis, but they're playing Mississippi State. So those are 3 dark horses you want to keep your eyes on. Those teams right
that's projected right now.
That's projected right now. We won't know until after all tournaments have been concluded. If somehow UConn knocks off St. John's in the championship game, which is the way it's set up right now, those two, if they play straight through, will meet in the championship.
Right.
And if UConn knocks off St. John's, that means they move up 2 spots to the number 6 spot.
They'll be number 6.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean they're going to stay in the East. They'll probably be in the 6th spot, and they'll send them out to the West. Which means that they'll end up playing VCU. If VCU, and they're already in, they qualified already. Qualified. So they would have to, and that 6-11 game is dangerous.
Wow.
Oh, that 6-11 game, man. I try not, for those of you that I'm going to say it this way: if you're a Christian and you listen and you gambling, stop it. You're hurting yourself. But for those of you that put up a bet, that 6-11 game, y'all better put, because they got some great 6-11s if they come up. Long story short, I'm going to put UConn in the Final Four, but unfortunately, they're not going to win the national title.
Okay, we'll have to wait. So Bishop, close us out tonight. Everybody good?
Yeah, we're great.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. As usual, thank you, those of you that are watching live, as well as those of you that have come back to watch it on the KMI on-demand channel. We appreciate you. Let somebody know WJRG is on the air. Tell them about the KMI app. It's one of the best apps in the entire New England region. And if you're one that wants to be part of this great conglomerate of great churches and ministries and things that's going on, please reach out to our dear Dr. Jerry Green. Go to www.wjrgradio.com or reach out to Big Don Productions. We'll have you on the air in less than 2 weeks. Okay. I said that. Don't tell him. Tell him the bishop sent you. Okay. Anyway. Thank God for each and every one of you. To my man Big Don for Big Don Productions, to our host Henry Green, but nice ministry, by the way, last night, Henry. To my friend, my longtime friend Kendall Tyson, and of course my brother from another mother holding down the great state of Maryland. He's got the north end, I got the south end. Larry Pearson talking about the Celtics. Awesome repeat. Pray for Larry, y'all. And of course, our host, Dr. Jerry Green. We love you, Dr. Green. Thank you so much for this opportunity and chance. We look forward to seeing you in the very, very, very near future. And folks, keep Dr. Green in your prayers. His progress is amazing. That's all I need to say. Let's look to the Lord. Precious Father, in the name of Jesus, we thank you for the entrance of your word always, God. Thank you for this time for these great men to come together and discuss sports, God. We bless you for the things that you're doing in our individual lives, God. But now it's time for us to leave the airways for a temporary spell. And God, as we go, God, thank you for the open doors no man can close, the doors that will close that no man can open. Thank you for the opportunities that you are presenting to each and every one of us. Help us to continue to be led, to be guided, to be guarded, to be governed, and to be corrected when needed and or necessary, Father God. Keep us safe from all hurt, harm, and danger. Those that have to go to work tonight, keep them safe, God. Those that go to work in the morning, God, let them have a good night's sleep, refreshed and ready to do whatever it is that needs to be done. Above all, help us to continue to glorify you, terrify every demon, and keep raising the name of Jesus as high as we can get it. Now unto him who's able to present us faultless before his throne, to the only wise God be glory, majesty, dominion, and power, both now, henceforth, and forevermore. And let the great men of God say amen.
Amen.
And amen.
All right, fellas, you guys have a great evening. It's good seeing everybody. Love you guys.
Big East tournament starts tomorrow.
I'll be watching.
Yeah.
You think I won't be?
Big East.
Hey, now if you go, hey Don, if you go on social media and you see a TV fly out the wall, it ain't me. I'm telling you now, it ain't me.
I'm one of them who can actually say I have no dog in the fight.
I got 2 dogs in the fight.
I just watch.
Hey, the UConn men and the UConn women. Those are my 2 dogs in the fight.
Yeah.
God bless you all.
All right, God bless, brothers.
All right.